Well, good afternoon, everybody. We are beginning our live sessions for the afternoon, and I want to welcome everyone to this session on using Web 2.0 tools to reach students. I'd like to introduce to you Sarah Boonton. She is one of our extraordinary teachers. She teaches Japanese, and in 2012, she started her NCVPS journey as a language coach, and now has been teaching with us since 2015, teaching Japanese. Very excited to hear what she has to say in terms of what her favorite Web 2.0 tools are and how she uses those to reach students. And so I'm going to turn the mic over to Sarah, and here you go.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Don. Yokoso, welcome everyone. Again, I'm Sarah Boonton, and I've been teaching with the Japanese department for about a year now. I'm one of those insanely lucky people who can truly say that I love my job and I love what I do. So it's such a pleasure to be here and share some of the things that I use with all of you to help me reach my students. So I'm just going to go ahead and screen share with all of you. Hopefully you will all be able to see this. It's the fun of doing things live. You just never know what's going to happen. Okay, so here we go. So hopefully you all can see my profile information on smore.com. This has been one of the best Web 2.0 tools I could have possibly found. To give you a little bit of background about me, I actually came from an IT background, and in my previous job, anytime anything went wrong with the computers or one of the systems, it was kind of my job to fix it. So I've kind of grown to like very user-friendly technologies where I don't have to sit down with code and try to troubleshoot things. So I find this a very useful and user-friendly and great looking tool to help me with my announcements. So this is what I use most often. I like to create s'mores and post these as my daily announcements or learning block, depending on which system you're using. But I find it's very helpful. So the Smore website, just to kind of show you, this is sort of like the main screen you land on when you create an account. And it gives you access to all of your previous flyers. This is actually a new feature they just created, if you can see over here. You have the option to group your announcements in folders. So if you teach multiple courses and you have multiple lessons like I do, you can keep all of your flyers in one convenient spot. So if I know that I'm teaching Japanese 2 and I'm working on lesson, what lesson is this? Lesson 1. I know I can go back and take a look at all my previous flyers, and a lot of this I can just kind of recycle and reuse as I go on. Obviously, I'd change out my celebrations or maybe some things that are specific to events that happened. I think this is one of my weekend updates when North Carolina was pelted with snow, so I put a little funny meme on here that just shows the frustration with the snow. So obviously that might be something you would change out, but a lot of this information kind of stays the same. So it's really useful to have that. And it's also really convenient too, because you're not reliant on a platform. We're in the process of switching over from Blackboard to Canvas in the Japanese department. So all of those Blackboard specific announcements that teachers might have had saved, I just found out in the meeting the other day, are sort of going to go by the wayside. So it's really nice to have a platform that's independent and can work with Canvas or Moodle or Blackboard or whatever you choose to use. Just want to walk you through some examples of flyers I've done. This was the announcement I used for my students when we first started the class. So it's a little introduction to Japanese. As you can see, these are really fun backgrounds that you can pick, and I'll walk you through how to pick backgrounds and all that fun stuff. But they're really good looking flyers, really good looking presentations, and you can just embed these right into Blackboard, Moodle, Canvas, whatever you're using. So here I was actually able to embed a Google Doc right into the Smore, which is so useful. It definitely saves you from trying to hound students down and say, okay, here's a separate link to this Google Doc, please fill it out with your student information survey. They can just log right in and see, first things first, submit your student information survey and your course contract. So this was a Google Doc I created. It's the Japanese 2 student information survey. And just as a little side note, I guess it's sort of a Web 2.0 tool, the Google Docs, but it's super helpful. And it's just sort of a way to compile information, get your students to enter in their information on a form, and then you have it all saved in a handy dandy little spreadsheet. So it's basic information, first and last name, email address, phone number, things like that, parent guardian email. And then I ask them questions about why they're taking Japanese, to fun things like what's your favorite book, favorite ice cream flavor, things you do on a Friday night, 5 things you can't live without, and things like that. They continue on to the next page where I have my course contract, where I have them agree to all the different points I want them to agree to during the semester. So doing things, for example, checking your email every day, agreeing to do that, agreeing to log in every day. For language courses, if you have a coaching component, I get students to check to agree that they'll go to coaching twice a week. And at the very end, I'll have them e-sign their doc by typing their name in and then submit. So all of that information, when they're done, it comes to me, it lives in my handy dandy little spreadsheet, and I've got a lot of super useful student contact information and just some fun information about them that I can use later on in the year to help me build connections with them. Smore is also really useful because embedding links is as simple as basically creating a little button. So if for whatever reason this survey didn't embed properly, they could just click this button, go off to a different website. Here I've got a link to schedule their welcome call. I use a scheduling tool to help my students get in touch with me, so that's super useful. They can just click there and set up their appointments. And other things that I put in flyers, so this one in particular, I can just put information, and this is sort of where your inform, instruct, celebrate mantra of NCBPS kind of comes in, where you can put in useful information that students need to know in the announcement. You can put in parts where you would instruct, so you would give them, you know, handy dandy tips and tricks to help them learn whatever they're working on. And there's also the opportunity to do celebrations. And I had a few of those here. Let me pull up a different flyer. Actually, first let me talk about other things that I put in this flyer. This is, again, really useful for students who maybe have more of a technology component to the class. So our course requires students to use Java for part of it. So if they need to verify their Java version, you can just put the link right in here and they can click it. I find this definitely cuts down on help desk tickets. You know, our help desk is awesome. Those people should be wearing capes, but sometimes some of these things can be sort of prevented by just putting links like this up there. It's really helpful for students, and it just makes things easier. It makes it easier for students to use the technology. If you need to have your students set up the computer to, for example, type in Japanese, so any of you world language folks who, you know, maybe don't use the Roman alphabet and they need to set up their computer to type in the target language, you can put the link right in here, and then that will take them to the website with all the information that explains how to set up their computer that way. The other thing I love to do in Smore is put in these little photos that we get for the Peer Tutoring Center. It's a great way to remind students, I try to remind them daily actually, that they're not alone. They've got this great resource in the Peer Tutoring Center to help them, and it encourages them to actually reach out and try to use it if they're feeling stuck. And I put the link sometimes right into the announcement, so they can just click on this link. It'll take them to our Upswing website and they can log right in and get the help they need. And then I'll just put a little blurb about me. This was my first announcement I put in the course, so I put all my office hours and things like that, a little photo. So it's an extremely useful website. I absolutely love Smore, and I'll just sort of walk you through next kind of what I do more on a daily basis if I wanted to create an announcement. So I'm going to go back to all of my flyers, and this is actually one that I'm working on now as soon as it loads. It's the fun part of doing things live. You just never know. So here we go. Oh, I scrolled a little too far. So when I find my flyer, and again, it's super useful that you can see all of the flyers you've created, just to sort of get a gist of some of the things that you've done in the past, and you can kind of recycle some of this material too. So what I typically do if I'm making a brand new announcement is I'll take one of my older flyers, because my days of the week in my course kind of follow the same format. So for example, every Wednesday is culture discussion day. So I know I kind of have a template that includes important information about culture discussion. So I'm just going to go up to options and then click duplicate. And I'll just show you this real quick. I'll just edit this one that I've been working on. And this will bring up my flyer. And whenever it comes up, I can see all the different things that I'm putting in it. So I like to start my flyers off with a little greeting. I like to use the target language. So I've got Kyo wa suyobi desu, today is Wednesday. And I put in the first part what I expect the students to do today, so there's no surprises in terms of what they need to be doing. They can see that today they need to work on their culture discussion, they'll need to work on the lesson 5 speaking assignments, and I put other important things in there they should be working on. And again, I like to put that right at the top, so as soon as they log in, that's the first thing they see, and they see, okay, I know that I need to work on these tasks today. I go into my inform part next. So I talk about, again, today's culture discussion day. A lot of this stuff kind of stays the same, but it's important reminders for students to remind them to do the post, to look at their rubric, to make sure that they're meeting all their criteria for their posts. And just to have that friendly reminder again, it's certainly okay to just put in your announcement, today's your culture discussion day, please submit it. But it's nice to have this reminder for students to look at all the bullet points and say, okay, I know that I need to do these things to make sure that I'm getting credit. And of course, my big, please cite your sources. I hate deducting points for this. And it's okay to use humor sometimes with students. I think they really enjoy it. I sometimes will put funny memes that I create in there. So it's a good way to sort of engage with students and keep them coming in and keep them logging in every day just to see what crazy things Boonton Sensei is going to post in our announcement the next day. And again, putting into our inform, instruct, celebrate mantra for announcements. Here's where I'm going to instruct a little bit. Culture discussion day is an important component for our course because it's very important that students have an understanding of Japanese culture to really help them embrace what they're learning. So, for this particular announcement, I'm not going to have a ton in the target language. Our culture discussions are done in English. But it's important information that they'll need to know to help them really understand what they're working with. I put a link directly into today's reading too, so they don't necessarily have to go into Blackboard and dig for that reading. They can just click this link and it comes right up for them and they can read. I also like to try to encourage students to pace themselves. We have several assignments in Japanese too that are sort of long-term assignments where they need to be working on them gradually. So I'll put in examples and things like that. And here's one here. This talks about the midterm project they have due pretty soon. So it's a good example where I can use the target language and I can model for students. This is something you might want to look at to consider for your midterm project. You want to make sure your project looks something like this, where we're using the target language and we're using the vocabulary and the grammar we've learned. Voki is another really great Web 2.0 tool I'll talk about more in detail in a minute here, but it's really important, especially for language classes, that we're speaking to our students, especially because we can't meet face-to-face. It's great to have the target language modeled for them, and Voki allows me to do that. And basically, I can speak and record into a Voki, and it comes up with our little, I created a class mascot, Tanaka-san, I'll introduce you to in a minute. She's this little yellow koala bear, but I can engage with the students with fun things like that. So they're hearing the target language, but they're also doing something fun by engaging with our little cartoon character, Tanaka-san. And it's just a really helpful tool. Like I said, you can post pictures and things like that. Just to walk you through quickly how you can do that. Oh, and at the end, I always put my contact info. Sometimes I'll use a funny little picture. That's my one of my bucket list moments there, when I got to actually touch and take a picture with the Stanley Cup. So sometimes I'll put little funny photos and like that just to engage with the students. So if I wanted to add things or edit my flyer, it's super easy to do it. And like I said, coming from a tech background where I used to get stuck in the trenches of having to look at code and troubleshoot things, I like to just work with technology in a way that's super easy and efficient, where I'm not kind of wasting my time trying to figure out what's wrong with this or why doesn't this link work and all that good stuff. So if I wanted to add a text entry, I can just go ahead and click this and it'll come up. I can put in a title, put in text here. And it's got little tools where you can put things like links directly in. If you wanted to bold your text and underline it, you can do that, alignment. So, you go in and you create these things, and it's super easy to do. You're not spending time trying to fight with fonts and things like that. If you wanted to add in a picture, you can just go ahead and click this. You have the option to post a big photo. I usually do these. You can post these little photo galleries. I find that students do a little bit better with the larger pictures so they can see up close. These are kind of smaller. The events, I don't really use this, honestly. Never really used it, don't really have to for my things. If I have something coming up like a culture cafe, I'll just put in where it is and then information about where they can access it. The audio feature, oh my goodness, I can't even tell you how much I would love to be able to use this feature. Unfortunately, it only works with SoundCloud, and SoundCloud, unfortunately, is a no-go just because it doesn't work with our requirements for Web 2.0 tools at NCBPS. But if it did, hypothetically, you would be able to create a SoundCloud account and you could have a full listing of all of your recordings your students could go and listen to, and you could just type in the URL and it just pops your recording right in. So it's not like they have to go to an outside link. They could just play it right from the website. So I don't know, maybe someday things might change and SoundCloud might be doable with our standards, but as of it is right now, it's not. I kind of use Voki as the workaround for that. So I'm just going to cancel out of here. So unfortunately, the audio link might as well not exist for us, but that's okay. The embed link is also super useful. So whenever I go to make my Vokies, whenever I want to speak to my students and model the language, I can just embed that link right in there, and that's super useful. I also use this for Kaltura videos. So if you have the link for the Kaltura video you want to put into your website, your Smore, you can just go ahead and put that link in. Students will have an option to click that link and go right to the video. So super useful. If you want to embed a Google Doc, all you have to do is put the website for the Google Doc right in there. Don't use the shortened version because it won't work. You have to use the whole long shebang, and just make sure you're using that long format. And again, the Google Doc will go embedded right into your form. So it's not like your students are clicking an outside link to get into your doc. They can just go right into the Smore and do it. The bio is what I use for this little contact Boonton Sensei part here, so you can put in your personal information. I have links to my Facebook and @Boonton Sensei Twitter handles. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend posting your personal Facebook. I actually got out of the Facebook loop about a year ago. I'm so happy I don't have real Facebook anymore, but I do have a Boonton Sensei page where I post important just little notes and things like that students can engage with for the class. It's all optional, but it's a good way to post, for example, cultural links and things like that.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Johnny has a question, and she asked if text can be enlarged. She teaches OCS biology, and we try to keep fonts big. So didn't know if Smore allows for that option.
You know, honestly, I don't believe it does. I think it's kind of a one-size-fits-all. The workaround, I think, would be just having your students try to enlarge the view on the browser. So if you wanted to do that and just blow it up. I'm actually at a smaller font. I'm one of those people that likes to look at things with this just more like a bird's eye view. So I tend to do that. But here it is at 100%, so maybe that's a bit easier for you all to see. It's a little bigger. But no, unfortunately, if you wanted to, you could sort of do, just to show you, if you wanted to do a title, if it'll load here, but that would be where it would come up in more of this big text. So, I mean, I guess hypothetically, you could just do a bunch of titles if you wanted to make the view bigger, but it's super useful. And then the last thing oh, there it goes. So yeah, you could type enlarge text. It's kind of small, so I mean, that might not be the best way to do it, but it is a potential workaround, especially if you don't necessarily want to put a ton of information in your flyers, if you want to keep it a little bit more simple. And then finally, the button. So if you wanted to create a link, you could just put in like, check out this cultural link, click here is the button text, put the link in, put an open a new window, and then if you have a little bit to say about what's in the link, you can put the details there. So yeah, I mean, Smore's been fantastic. I absolutely love using it. I would definitely recommend it to anybody who, you know, wants to engage with their students effectively and still have great announcements that use Web 2.0 tools. It's a mouthful, but you don't necessarily want to go monkeying around with code, or maybe you're like me that just wants nothing to do with that aspect of technology anymore. The other neat thing you can do is change your design. They do a lot of different designs here. This is more of a school-centered. They did a fun one for Valentine's Day, so you can pick your background and you can pick different ones. So like here's one with candy hearts. So yeah, it's a fun way to engage with students. I've got different ones here. This has more of a photography theme. Just a lot of different things. If you have students into music, you could give a student a shout out and talk about music or something like that. So yeah, a lot of fun things you can do with Smore. Definitely love this Web 2.0 tool and would definitely recommend it. One of the things I did want to note, I don't have any pictures here too, but you have the option to add in little pictures if you wanted to sort of engage with students. And what I like to do for that, because we definitely want to find stuff that works with our copyright laws, is use this tool, Openclipart.org. It's basically a place where you can get free clip art where people are open to using, just having people share their work and not really looking for attribution or anything like that. But you can do a search for all kinds of things. So just depending on whatever you're looking for, you can do a search. So if I put in sushi, for example, if I wanted to find a picture of sushi, when it loads, it'll come up with all these different pictures of sushi that I might be able to use. So if I found something that I like, I could open it, save it, and just incorporate that right into the Smore. And I could do that just by adding the picture and sort of just uploading it. So excellent resource to have. And I also want to talk a little bit about Voki. This is the tool that I use to model language for students. And if you check this out here, this is our little, I don't know if you can see it. This is our little mascot, Tanaka-san. She's this little yellow koala bear. And basically what I do is I can go in just using a microphone. I can go and record different ones. If I wanted to create a brand new one, I could click this create and just sort of walk through it. But it's really helpful because it allows students to really listen to what you would tell them. So, I mean, you know, I can't meet with them face to face, so it's hard for me to actually tell them how to pronounce the vocabulary words and show them how to use the grammar. I'll try to see if this... Minasan, akemashite omedetou gozaimasu. Fuyu yasumi ni. So you get the point. Like, I can talk to the students, I can speak slowly, I can speak clearly, and it can really model how to pronounce what we're working on and how to use the grammar in a real life situation. So love Voki for that. And again, if I'm looking at my flyer, all I have to do is embed that link. They can click on this and this little website will come up where they can go in and listen to the little clip of Tanaka-san going through the grammar and vocabulary. So it's a great way to model the language. Love Voki for that. Another thing I want to talk about that I found very useful is the Screencast-o-matic.com. And I don't know if anybody else has used this, but I absolutely love this tool. I did buy the paid account. I find that it's definitely worth its weight in gold. And what this allows me to do is create little videos where I can show my students and walk them through step by step how to do things. If I want to sit down with my grammar notes document and walk them through how things work, I can open up a document and sort of just teach going through the document. It's really useful. So here's a few videos that I've made recently. This one I just made for my students where I'm walking them through how to do a lingua folio assignment. This is where they get an opportunity to sort of self-assess where they're at in learning their language. It's a great tool, but it can sometimes be a little confusing for students. So I like to create a video that actually walks them through step by step how to do that. I'll just put it on for a minute just so you can get an idea how it works and how I use it. Yokoso, minasan, welcome everyone. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how you would complete your Module 1 Lingua Folio assignment. So right now I'm on the main Blackboard screen for the course, and I'm going to go to Course Modules. Then I'm going to go to Module 1. Then when I get to the Module 1 screen, I'm going to scroll all the way down where it says Lingua Folio Assignment. And when that loads, it brings me to the screen where I've got all of my directions. So the first thing I'm going to do is read this very carefully to make. So you kind of get the point. I'm able to actually click through how to access the assignment, and then later on in the video, I actually go through and explain what I'm doing. Take a look here and see if you can add anything to this. So if you've read any books using Japanese, you can, I mentioned that there. And also, it doesn't actually have to be just one language if you want to. So that's where I actually walk them through how to do the assignment. And I find that after I do videos like this, assignments like Lingua Folio, where some students don't submit them or they send me texts in the middle of the day, Boonton Sensei, I have no idea how to do this, I really don't get it. if they're empowered that they have a video they can watch and pause, where I go through step by step how to do it, they're much more likely to engage with the assignment and complete it the right way. I can tell you, sometimes taking online classes at the university level, I really wish I had instructors that posted the announcements like we post, where sometimes we actually will walk you through how to do an assignment that maybe is confusing, because sometimes it's just the frustration level will get to you and you might be a little tempted to not do the assignment to the best of your ability, or maybe just not do it at all. So I love Screencast-o-matic.com for this. The only drawback is that through the actual hosting website, even though I have a paid account, you've got these little ads here, which are a pain. So the way to get around that is to go through Kaltura. It's really convenient if you wanted to start the recording, just to show you this real quick. Oh, it's already running. So this is kind of the look and feel of the Screencast-o-matic. You just basically go to the website and download the software. It's pretty easy. But all you have to do is just click record, you create your video, and then when you're done, you have your video right at your fingertips. So you have options to go and you can either upload it or save it as a video file. That's what I do. And then I just basically take that video file and take it out to Kaltura, and students can access that pretty quickly and easily. So these are the Web 2.0 tools that I use on a regular basis. I'll just go ahead and stop the screen sharing. There we go. Yeah, so this is, I find, it's extremely helpful for me to be able to go through and engage with my students using these Web 2.0 tools. I find that it's much easier to create connections, especially if you're using fun stuff through Smore and you're creating videos where they can engage with the class mascot, for example, and listen to things that might be helpful, or even just using Screencast-o-matic, where you're going through and you're explaining step by step, here's how you do these assignments. You don't have to be anxious about it. I'll walk you through it. So it's a great way to build connections, and it definitely empowers students to do more and want to be more and do more with your class. So that's really about it for what I had on the Web 2.0 tool side. And I have a couple minutes, so I just want to share a little bit with you about why Digital Learning Day is so important to me and how amazing it is that I'm even here talking with you today. Again, to give you a background on me, I was, in a totally different field before, and my passion was always Japanese. When I was in high school, I was a little language ninja, so I took Spanish and French, but the idea of taking Japanese at a high school level, back when I was in high school, so that was when, dinosaurs were still roaming the earth and people were accessing the internet through the old 56K modems through the phone line. So the idea of taking an online class was just not even within the realm of possibility. And then me taking Japanese in high school, growing up in kind of Pennsylvania, where it's not a widely spoken language, it was like alien speak. Like, there's no way that was going to happen. So the fact that right now what I do, which is my job, which I absolutely love, is allowing students to have access to something that they love, like Japanese, and allowing them to learn it at a high school level. I would have given my left arm to do it, honest to goodness, if I was a high school student. It just wasn't available to me. So now here I am, doing a job that I absolutely love, empowering students to do things that they love, to chase after their dreams, to go for what they want, and making this available to students just because we have the power of the internet now to sort of back us up and provide the medium to provide the instruction. It is truly my dream job, what I'm doing right now. So I just cannot thank everybody enough who is part of the NCBPS organization, everybody who, signs their students up, from, people working at the schools to helping us and supporting us, to the ELAs who are backing the students up and encouraging them, to, the people on the help desk side with the IT side that are enabling us to do all of this. And of course, our awesome team we have with Don and Michelle, and everybody who I work with. So, I mean, thinking about the whole World Language Department and Ellen Hart, how much I'm just so appreciative of all these people. And of course, I have to give a shout out to Bridget Beaver, my AL, who's just been such a huge help, especially as I sort of make this transition from being an IT professional to doing what I love and being a teacher. It's so great to have people who are on your side and who are willing to help you grow and flourish. So I truly just can't thank all of you enough for being part of this, for making this happen. And like I said, I hope that my presentation sort of helps you get some ideas as to some different things you can do for your announcements to really engage with your students and help them embrace all that we have to offer through online learning. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. And it's all I have. So thank you again. I'm just going to go ahead and I guess turn this back over to Dawn. Maybe not, but
Yep.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so absolutely. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing really some deep dive into Smore and looking at Voki and Screencast-o-matic.com and tons of great resources. And I hope as we close out this session that those that are participating live right now and those that will hear this archive later to really take risk and to not be afraid to get dirty with playing in the sandbox and learning and exploring and discovering ways to make these tools applicable and relevant, authentic, and creative with your own students, whether it's virtual and or face-to-face. So if there are any, I'm going to pause just a brief second to give people time to ask any questions. Looks like we got just a few comments that coming in. Great ideas. Thanks a lot. Love Openclipart. So you're getting some shout outs, Sarah. And as I wait for additional questions, just want to remind you that coming up at 2:15, yours truly, myself, will be delivering a presentation on Google Docs and Sheets add-ons to engage students and teachers. And so I hope you are able to come back and plug into that particular presentation. And Lori says, thanks so much for the great stuff, Sarah. So with that, we're going to go ahead and stop broadcast. We appreciate you kicking off the afternoon sessions for Digital Learning Day. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.